Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Can Take the Bus to Work. A few years ago, I worked for this dispatch agency that would contract me out to various locations. They paid me in peanuts and treated me like subhuman dirt. I even had to go so far as to be identified by a number rather than name when I spoke with management. Management, which I hear has just kinda collapsed in on itself due to just obviously pathetic management skills. So this one place they contracted me out to was located far away from any train station or bus stop, and I don't own a car. So I asked how I should get there. They told me, and I confirmed with the client, that there was a bus from a train station owned by the client that took employees and visitors there. So for about the first month I took that bus every morning around 7 AM, even though I didn't actually start work until 9:30 or 10. But that was the only bus, so I had no choice. Suddenly one day, the manager shuffled around a bunch of employees for some reason. I got stuck with this new scheduler, who was, I think, fresh out of college and had no clue what he was doing. For some reason, he told me that I had to stop taking the bus because it was owned by the client and I don't work for the client. I work for the company. They love to remind us of this. The client even said they didn't mind if I took their bus, as that just made the most logical sense. But no. I told them I could walk from the train station, but it was gonna take me an hour or two, and the only feasible transport beside the bus was to take a taxi, which would be a $40 trip. This was one way, so to get back ends up $80 a day on taxis. Yeah, they are expensive in this country. So he told me to take a taxi. I straight up told him, "You don't pay me enough to be able to afford a taxi." I was thinking they would capitulate and let me take the bus. But, as if to pathetically assert dominance, they actually gave me an allowance for the taxi from then on. And since I could take a taxi whenever, instead of waiting for the bus, I showed up to the client at 9:30 with 2 extra hours of sleep. Was actually a pretty nice setup. The next story is called Per Diem. Back in the early 2000s, my mom worked for a company that was a subsidiary of a now defunct telecommunications company. We'll call it NDJ. NDJ's travel expense policy was that she had a $50 per diem meal allowance. Thing was, in the long run, she'd spend less than $50 per day. She worked as a network administrator. Sometimes she'd have to fly out to Miami, Los Angeles, or wherever else in the US they had a data center to help set up or repair networks and other things. She would often book a room in an extended stay hotel, the kind that often advertised their rates as being per week. These extended stays often have a kitchenette. Usually they'd have a microwave, a fridge, and a small 2-eye stove, perfect for cooking up some bachelor food. My mom would, on the day of arrival, stop at a local grocery store and pick up a week's worth, or however long she needed to stay, of food. She'd get frozen dinners, sandwich fixings, frozen or fresh fruit, yogurt, and a few pints of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. The total bill might come to $100, but it would last her the entire week. One day, when she submitted her receipts and expense report, accounting ripped her a new one over the $100 grocery bill. They told her, "You're only allowed to spend $50 per day, no more." She'd argue, "That was food for the entire week. I saved you money. Doesn't matter, $50 a day." "Okay dokie," she thought. "You want $50 a day? You got it, bucko." The next time she took a trip to Miami or elsewhere, she spent exactly $50 a day. She'd stop somewhere cheap like McDonald's or Burger King for breakfast, get something out of the break room vending machines for lunch, but it was treat yourself night every night. She would go anywhere that guaranteed a bill of at least $25 per person. She'd get the whole shebang. Appetizer, entree, dessert, and a cocktail. Pretty sure the bill ran upwards of $40 to $50. As long as she stayed within her means, she enjoyed herself, every night. They didn't bat an eye, but when they saw that and compared it to what it would have cost on her old system, they told her she could go back to her old system if she so desired. She didn't. The third story is called The Conference Call. This took place in the mid-2000s. I was a manager but had arranged time off to go duck hunting with friends. The day before I was to leave, I was pulled into a meeting due to an emergency, and there would be a war room conference call with other officers the day after. I had nothing to contribute nor deliver for this meeting. It was merely higher pay grade than me folks hashing out a problem and then issuing directives. I said no, I'm not cancelling a trip I planned for over a year with friends I hadn't seen in an incredibly long time to sit and listen to people argue. I got different replies from my manager and his manager. By different, my manager was pleading. His manager basically said, show up or you are fired. I said fine, I'll be on the conference call. Turns out where we were hunting I had cell signal, so I called in. During the meeting my manager's manager called on me specifically to contribute. I figured he was making a point. I was talking and said, hang on a sec, and my friends and I started shooting. It was quick, there were 4 of us, 2 12-gauge shots each. I went back on to finish talking. I was asked, was there shooting? I said, yep, I'm duck hunting. Our regional VP asked, why are you on the call if you were off hunting? My reply was, I was told it's mandatory or I'm fired. My manager's manager began backpedaling and started saying I was a team player and knew the benefit, etc. Basically, he was told, we'll take this offline. The last story is called, just do what they tell you to do. I got a job last year at a company that provides services to a large lead-acid battery company. It was a subdivision of a huge corporation that does this in lots of industries, but the industrial side was like the red-headed stepchild. The direct client hated us as we were forced on him by his corporate overlords, and he had had bad experiences in the past and he didn't hesitate to say it to my face. My team and I were responsible for taking care of certain machinery and nothing else. But my boss had told me point blank to help them out as best as I can to help the relationship, but make sure we got paid for any extra work we did. The client would request things like moving equipment in a rush for a huge project, and I would bend over backward and hire temps to get the work done on his timeline. I would submit purchase requests and he would email approval. Then when the actual invoice showed up a month later, he would throw a fit and go to my boss or my boss's boss or scream even higher and never pay. One thing we had that they didn't have access to was a pickup truck and a credit card for incidentals. The battery corporate overlords had determined that their location didn't require such things. Well, they had broken their pressure washer for cleaning powdered lead out of things and ordered a new one. The catch was, it was gasoline, and all they had available was diesel on location due to insurance and corporate requirements. Every time they needed gas, they called me in a rush as their pressures was down and needed to be cleaned now. Huge emergency. During plant maintenance, they forgot to check the gas though. This time they also busted 2 of the tires trying to move it with a forklift. Now, by the contract, I shouldn't even touch the thing. So I sent an email to the guy requesting the gas and repair, the tin-pot client and my boss spelling things out. I said plainly that since so many bills had been disputed that I would not do anything until our official PO had been issued, months usually. They issued one right away. So you can do that, didn't know you could, and off I ran to go get the tires fixed and the gas. Here is where the malicious compliance really kicked in. When they gave me the credit card, my trainer said only use for travel or emergencies. Anything that could be bought through approved vendors would bring the ire of the VP of accounting. They also had them set to the highest level of warning. If they were even used outside the wrong zip codes, they would lock down and you would get phone calls from accounting. I first took the tires to Billy Bob's used tires and got them fixed. My personal bank had called me when I got one fixed there, as it was such a sketch place with stolen credit cards being used there all the time. Then I went to the sketchiest gas station I know about, Local Town Oil and Sundries. The pump swipes never work and you have to go in and run it manually. So I told him $25 and put $20 in the can, causing credit and a debit to it at almost the same time. Literally the first thing the next day, I got a meeting invite including my boss, his boss, the VP of accounting and the VP of my division. I go into it without a care in the world as I had already given up on this job. The VP of accounting is asking why I went and got gas, and so I sent him the email with all approvals. Included in that was my explanation of the times we had done extra work and not gotten paid. I had assumed he didn't know about that. My boss did have my back, as it was his boss pushing the play nice. So from that point on, I was sitting back. I was watching the VP of accounting chew on the fact we were doing work, not getting paid, and bowing down to a little client to give us a dark green rating. Bonus time for everybody but me. I was out there in a few weeks, don't know if anything changed, don't care. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.